Back in the early 2000s, I lived near Tokyo for 3 years. I came to Japan for a working holiday, mainly because I wanted to experience a country that had a great artistic influence on my creative endeavors. I had always admired the simplicity and elegance of artistry in Japan, from paintings to architecture and landscaping. I came for a year and stayed for 3. When I moved back to Australia, all I could think about was going back to Japan. I often took vacations back to the country to see all my friends and favorite places. While living in Australia, I wanted to build a Japanese house in the countryside and surround myself with the aesthetics of Japan. I was studying Japanese with a private tutor in Melbourne, who eventually became my wife. We had just had our firstborn son and decided to take him on holiday to her hometown near Hiroshima. I was looking for inspiration for building our house back home. Her mother showed us a leaflet of a house that was for sale in the mountains, about 20 minutes from the town where she lived. We decided to go check it out. It was a lovely drive up the mountains, surrounded by bamboo forests and lush greenery. When we arrived, the house was unoccupied but unlocked. We walked through the house and I immediately fell in love with the tatami rooms. Then, when I stepped out the front of the house, I was blown away by the mountainous view. It's something you don't often see in a flat Australia. We started to consider a change of plan at that very moment. When we found out the price of the house, less than 1/10 of the cost of building one in Australia, and looked at all the pros and cons of raising kids in both countries, we decided to buy the house with the deposit we had saved and move to Japan. The house is on a sloping road that cuts through the property. There were small areas of land surrounding the house. Most of it was used as a driveway. There was also a decent-sized portion of land behind the barn, but not much garden at all. Up the hill and on the other side of the road, there was a large sloping area for farming, which was overgrown with weeds. There was also a long stretch of land, running all the way along the road, quite high as the road ascended up the mountain. I was pleased with how much land came with the house. The first thing I wanted to do was to plant some trees. So on our next visit, after purchasing the house, we planted several trees to get started, and we returned to Australia. We stayed in Australia for a couple of years and my wife's parents took care of the property. We visited a few times and it was a bit like a holiday house for a while. In those 3 years, I made several plans for projects, both inside the house and in the garden. Most of those projects are ongoing and still keep me busy in my spare time. I was teaching English during my first 3 years, so had not gained any experience as a landscaper yet. After switching jobs and working in many gardens, I started to get a clearer picture on what I could achieve in my own garden. I also had access to a range of landscaping products and some lanterns that customers were discarding during the remodeling of their own gardens. In the front of the house, I started collecting flat stones and placing them along the path I had created between the garden beds. It looks very different now compared to the gravel driveway that was there before. The land on the other side of the barn is an odd shape. It slopes down the mountain and already contains many large established trees that have been growing there for 7 years now. The ginkgo was the first tree to be planted. It's over 5 meters tall now. I also used many stones that had been dug up around the property to make the base for a pagoda in the near future. I'll keep you posted on those. On the farm up the hill, I planted an orchard of apple, peach, plum, apricot, and nectarine trees. There's also a European pear, some Granny Smiths, and 2 Japanese nashi trees. An area I concreted is for my son to practice basketball. Next to it, I'm putting in a small shack and possibly an astronomical dome on the roof. The night skies here are very clear, and I have a great view of the sky looking south. As I continue working as a landscape gardener, I'm acquiring new skills which I can finally put to action on my own property. Eventually, I look forward to having something really amazing and then just concentrate on pruning and keeping the trees and garden looking beautiful. It's a long road ahead. As I complete each project, I'll post more detailed videos during the construction. Transforming this mountain retreat into my dream house and a place my family can enjoy and appreciate is such an amazing experience. I hope you stick around and join me over the coming years in the process. Please subscribe to keep up to date with my adventures in Japan. But for now,
さようなら。